Hey, what's up, everybody? What's you guys do layout? Pretty cool, right? Just trying to make some changes here with StreamYard. What's up? It's your boy OTTO. This is part 2 of the best Kevin Eastman interview ever. This is where we got to ask questions. This is where yours truly made an admission to Mr. Eastman. But as always, you guys, let's pay some bills. So like this video, why wouldn't you? It's about an amazing interview about the history of the turtles and some great people asking great questions. Hit the notification bell because we've got tons of stuff coming up in the near future that we want you to watch, whether it's pre-recorded or live. Subscribe. Thank you very much for all the new subscribers. Over 100 new subscribers from Terrificon and the fallout of that. We can't thank you enough, and get ready. It's going to be one wild ride this upcoming year. And as always, please leave a comment below. Were you at the show? Are you new to the channel? What was your favorite part about Terrificon? I read them all. I answer them all. So that being said, this is the best Kevin Eastman interview ever, part 2, where people got to ask questions. I'm OTTO, and I'm out. Peace.
Hearing me talk. If you guys do have a question, by all means, please, if you want to come up to the microphone here. First question, here you go, buddy. Go for it.
Pee-wee's favorites. Yellow.
Do you have a favorite character you ever created?
Man, that's it's such a great question because we've had so much fun through the creation process and the evolution. But early on in the Turtles, like if you look at the first bunch of issues we did, there weren't a lot of other mutants in the stories. But in 1985, we worked on and helped create all the mutant characters for the Turtles role-playing game.
Oh,
So if you look at the role-playing game, that's the first time we created like mutant warthog, a mutant rhinoceros. There was all kinds of characters in the role-playing game process, the Turtles to battle. And so that was really fun. We expanded the whole universe very early on, came up with all these different mutants, and a lot of the mutants that we created, gone on to cartoon shows.
Somewhere else down the line.
Yeah, so that was really fun to expand the range. So I like them all.
Where did punk rocks come from?
that was fun. By the time things really started expanding for Mirage Studios, a little tiny company that suddenly we had all the artists working, not only again Mike Dooney, Jim Lawson, Steve Levine, so many guys that and people that helped with the creation and publishing in the ongoing comic series. But now we were doing the animated show, so we started working with them. So everything was was kind of an open door that everybody got to bring ideas into the company and different ideas.
I always wanted to see let's get a cockroach in there.
Yeah,
let's get something, something strange. I like that. That's awesome.
So it was really some fun time. I think guys like this is like characters like Ace Duck was one of my favorites. So Mutant Man is like.
Yeah, right. Just a bunch of random stuff in a pile. Yeah.
But yeah, it was really fun. It was a great group of guys, super creative, that brought so many new characters to the universe.
That's awesome. And buddy, since you asked a question, you ask a question, you come up and pick a book. Kevin was like supposed to sign all these books for you guys.
They signed all those.
Pick whatever one you like to pick up.
This one was on eBay for like $60. We'll sell it to you for only 20.
You had a question too?
Did you have a more dark version of Crane, the original Mirage one, or was he created for extra interest in the TV show?
No, that's a great question. Thank you. It was Crane was actually created. Pete and I watched the movie, 2 movies actually. One was Critters. These little blobby critter guys. He had a cameo in the movie. But then there was this movie called Strange Food with Bob and Mackenzie. And they did this little movie called Strange Food, but in it they said a mini movie within the movie. They talk about these fleshy-headed mutants. And so we made these little blobby guys called the Neutrons, and they crash landed on Earth, and then they built these exoskeletons. So they lived in the stomach area of these things, and we loved them, and we wanted to have more of a solid story behind the creation of the ooze. So we made it about alien nature. So that was
Adds into it.
Yeah, it's into it. So there was neutrons, and we brought them back in the IDW series. There was lots of them. But when we did the cartoon series, we took the original Ultrons and turned it into Krang. So he was the leader of Dimension X, and was one of those.
Yeah.
It was a place to pull out the characters.
Yeah, so he's put him in the one, give him a nice crackly voice. Yeah.
Pat Fahey did that voice. It was just for crying. It was like it was fantastic. Yeah.
Awesome. Hey, but you want to come up, take your t-shirts up here. Questions?
Yeah, so, is it okay if I ask two if one is really short?
Sure.
First of all, I gotta ask, whose bright idea was it to name Raphael as the leader of the group in the rap at the end of the first movie? Because I wanna smack him.
Well, it's, you know, sometimes, especially in the early days, sometimes we were very lucky, say, with the first movie, is that we had Steve Aaron and writer Todd Langdon and Jim Henson and stuff, and so they kept really close to the original story and pulled a lot of things from Black Comics and the animation. But Hollywood, fortunately, has started to get things right, say with the Marvel Cinematic Universe and stuff. But most of the time, especially in the early years of behind the new stuff, it was like Hollywood was like, we're Hollywood, you know, we know better than you guys. We're just a couple of goofballs comic book makers, and so they.
What do you know? You're going crazy.
That's why a lot of those early superhero movies were terrible. And so when they would do stuff like that, like, you can't do that, and we had a certain level of say and control over the likeness, and even like the screenplays, the movie had to conform to 85% of the screenplay, and that gave just enough wiggle room. So if they wanted to change something, they did. So, but I got their home address, so I can give it to you. Came to visit.
And the other thing I just wanna ask is, there's been a lot of iterations, animated movies, whatever, over the years. And I wanted to know if we will ever get a super ultra true to the original black and white comics cartoon or movie. And we won't talk about the horrifying Shrek frog crossover baby movie.
It's right now because with Viacom, who I sold my interest in the Turtles in the late 2009, 2008, and then Pete sold to Viacom, and then Pete retired, and then they bring me in to consult and work on all these different ideas. I worked on the cartoon series, I worked on the animated show, some of the movies, and so when we talked about ideas like this, originally there was a lot of conversation about the Turtles doing the last Ronin movie, and originally Paramount was like, we're not going to do that because we don't want to compete with Seth Rogen's animated movies, but then they realized, Hollywood, even though they think they know everything, they don't. When they see like movies like R-rated movies that become successful, and they say, well, we think there's room now for both worlds. They can do both. But there has been a lot of talk about doing that, but that's unfortunately just a lot of talk. So fingers crossed, one day maybe. The Turtles are 41 years old this year, so
Maybe for the next 45.
Yeah.
maybe 50.
Exactly. Thank you for your question.
Thank you.
Hi. First of all, thank you very much for the informative childhood memories. So I was 9 when I first watched the miniseries of the department store on video cassette that they were showing, and I
Awesome.
I have a 10-year-old who's been getting into this stuff, and I only last year blew his mind by talking about the Daredevil TMNT connection. And so I know you already just discussed it before, but is there anything that the fans can do, like get the fan base riled up to like make it happen? Like what's the roadblock that we can do? We can take care of it. Workload, is it bureaucracy? Is it?
It's one of it. If you don't know, a lot of you might, but the thing was I was a huge Daredevil fan growing up, and when Peter and I were coming up the origin of the Turtles, we were trying to think of there's always like gamma rays or some serial radioactive spider, whatever that caused them to mutate to become these characters.
Something off the periodic table still.
Yeah, exactly. And so it was always curious to me that when the truck that was driving through New York City carrying radioactive waste, which I guess happens a lot anyway, but when young Matt Murdock jumps out to say the blind man crossing the street, truck locks up his brakes, the canister comes out, hits near the eyes, which then sends him to become sends him down his path, blinds him, and he becomes Daredevil through his powers. they never said what happened to the canister after hitting it in the eyes. And so we took that whole story and just had the canister continue bouncing down the street, and this poor kid was standing next to an open sewer, cover, holding a terrarium before turtles in it. So crashed into that ooze down in the sewer next to a rat. So we just sold mostly Daredevil's origin. When we took it a little bit further with Frank Miller, his run of Daredevil was so fantastic, and he had a evil ninja board called Hand. We had the foot.
So I had that as musty too, without really putting, I love
It's
it.
doing so, and they had Daredevil's mentor was Skip, so we had Splinter. And you know, so we did this, lots of other things within the Thoro universe that it was a love poem, all things that we loved about the genre and the comic books, so we sort of rolled it into one. So there is the idea that, you know, and it has been talked about, but you have a couple big corporations. I mean, Marvel's owned by DC, Marvel's owned by Disney, Turtle's owned by Paramount, and so each of them will look at that kind of request with, you know, how does this affect our jobs, which is the most important to them. The bottom line and stuff. So it's industry malarkey. So fingers and toes crossed. So it'll happen that they'll sort of come to the table and we can make that happen.
I'm still waiting for the next season of Daredevil, we can see the, you know, a little camster on the background or something. That'd be awesome.
Can't wait.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for the question.
Hello, my name's Otto. I'm another one of the 3 men in the basement. It's great to meet you.
Thank you.
But I have to tell you, I have to apologize to you.
Uh-oh.
I am saying I am sorry because 13-year-old Otto used to go to a local LCS right outside of Hartford. It's called the Bookie. I don't know if you remember that name.
Yeah.
They had some of your first print books. 13-year-old Otto was reading Marvel, DC. I looked at this and I said, oh my God, black and white, turtles that are ninjas?
Yeah.
I am sorry for not believing in your vision, my friend. I am sorry. I'm sorry that had I picked up 4 of them, 5 of them, I could have paid for my kids' college. I can't tell you that I've been waiting so long. Jen doesn't know about this. My guys here don't know about this, but I'm apologizing. I'm apologizing to my parents for something I didn't believe in. So thank you very much for everything that you brought to everything, and I'm sorry for not believing in it.
No, well,
it's been amazing.
It's one of those things that, you know, when that generation, you know, when we were lucky that, you know, black and white comics, it was a very niche market. I used to live when I lived in Maine, I used to go down to a store in Boston called the Millennium Picnic in Howard Square, get underground comics, you know, Dave Sims, Cerebus, Wendy and Richard Minis, ElfQuest, those kind of things. So it was something that was new to us. But a lot of people, like, if it wasn't in color, they're like,
No.
Yes.
Again, 13-year-old kids see some comics like, oh, whatever,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. And I have to tell you this in front of everybody here, I'll apologize.
Oh, you don't
Thank you
have
very
to.
much for everything you've done.
I made him a bit of a turtle fan since then, so.
Yeah, really, really done.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Appreciate it.
So I want to say, it's really great to meet you. I wanted to see you at the signing of Get Anything Signed. So I wanted to ask that you had mentioned a lot about how stuff like The Dark Knight Returns, Daredevil, again, stuff that inspired you and something like that. And I always thought it was interesting how with characters like Batman, the tone changes a lot between adaptations where you have the 60s show is very, you know, kid-friendly, goofy, then you have like Legends of Dark Knight, stuff that's like a little bit darker, and Turtles is like that too, I've noticed, where it is an 80s show, and then there's, you know, more.
All right. Oh, let's see if I can do this the right way. All right. So that's kind of how it played out, you guys. I got to tell you this. I ended at that point because I was so taken back by what had transpired, because that was completely like all natural. Like I didn't expect to do that. But once I heard how real Kevin Eastman was, how grounded he was, how polite he was, I really, really had to get that off my chest. So after that, I'll be honest with you, I had to go talk to a bartender to get some counseling because it was just amazing. So I apologize for everybody else that I didn't get their interview and their questions, but that's what I wanted to show you. We're going to try to get the rest of the footage, but I thoroughly hope you enjoyed those questions and everybody that stopped and asked those questions. So that's all I had to say. Like, that was important. It was here to listen to all those questions. And I didn't plan on this. And just the look on Chinmo's face when I stood up, he was like, oh my God, what is he going to say? But more importantly, I didn't know what I wanted to say. And that was a highlight of this year's Terrificon. I mean, I could list 10 highlights, but that was the best because you never know how awesome it went. And that was very like just organic, as I like to say, as my boy Tivo would say, very organic. It's like when I met Charlie Cox and he looked at my brother's artwork and signed it and wrote Daredevil. Like this was so organic. And that's the best part about Terrificon is these moments happen organically, whether you're in the hotel, whether you're on the floor. Later on that night, I just happened to go to a bar and he was there. And I apologized again. And he said, don't worry, my friend Otto, we're best friends. And I go, thank you, Mr. Eastman. So that's it. So guys, we thoroughly appreciate all the support and really hope you enjoyed that. So on behalf of 3MIB, on behalf of Terrificon, on behalf of Kevin Eastman, on behalf of Chinmo for doing such a great interview. We are 3 Men in the Basement. This was the best Kevin Eastman ever interview ever. Part 2. I'm Otto and I'm out. Peace.